The doshas, or the Three Dosha Siddhanta, the principle of the doshas, Vata, Pitta, Kapha, is a unique contribution of the science of Ayurveda, or the darshan, the philosophy of Ayurveda, to Indian philosophical scientific thought. It is not a borrowed concept, it is not copied, it is not in any way a derivative. It is an independent, exhaustive, and quite remarkable contribution of Ayurveda to Indian thought. The Siddhant, or the principle of Panchmahabhuta, the five great elements, which includes Akasha or ether, Vayu or air, Tej or fire, Apa or water, and Prithvi, which is earth. And that how these five elements compose the entire fabric of existence, which includes these bodies as well as the bodies of all living existence on earth, and it is also composing the body of the non-living matter. Everything made up of Panchmahabhut is a brilliant conception, brilliant understanding, very scientific understanding of the Vedic rishis. And this Panchmahabhutic composition of all that we can see, taste, touch, smell and hear is made up of Panchmahabhut. This understanding is ubiquitous throughout Indian thought. All the six systems of philosophy and science, when we say the word called darshan, darshan is not a religious exposition of a theory. Darshan is not merely a scientific hypothetical construct. Darshan is not alluding to some philosophy which is a box unto itself. Darshan literally means a revelation, a manifestation, and a darshan includes all of the above: the science, the spirituality, the art of, the wholeness, the parts and their interrelationships. And when we, for example, study a darshan, be it Ayurveda darshan, be it Nyaya darshan, be it Yoga darshan, be it Vedanta darshan, be it Mimamsa darshan, be it Vaisheshika darshan, be it Sankhya darshan, all these darshans that abound in Vedic India, when we study them, we get darshan of what? The truth. A peek into the wholeness which is our essential nature. A peek into understanding the interrelationship between the micro and the macrocosm. A peek into the relationship of how this micro and the ultimate macro, which we call God, and the interfacing medium, which we call in various darshans, in various ways, interface. So necessarily the study of a darshan from a Vedic context really opens up the doors and windows of our intellect, unboxes us, and makes us see the world in unique ways. All of these darshans agree to one point, and that point is that this world and its creatures, their bodies, the body of the creatures includes human beings, and the body of this world includes the mountains, rivers, trees. Everything is adorned with, manufactured with, and sealed with the Panch Mahabhutas, or the five great elements. These five great elements are so subtle that they are often called energy, but I would not like to call them energy. They are actually states of matter. We used to say for a long time that molecule is a very small state of matter, then atoms, right? And then we went into subatomic electrons, protons, neutrons. Then we went into quarks. Then we went into something even subtler, right? Vibrations. So ultimately, there is a smaller and smallest unit of matter. And that same gross matter becomes subtler and subtler, right? So if you have this in your hand, it is ether, it is Prithvi or earth. It has mass, it has volume, it has density, it has thickness, it has coarseness, it has tangibility, it has smell, it has grossness, thulata. But within this matter, there is also water, cohesive forces. There is also fire, radiant, so hence we see it. There is also Vayu, everything is vibrating. And there is also Akasha, there is sheer quantum. Actually, all of this is existing in all of that, which is Akasha. Does that make sense? So these Panch Mahabhut exist together. They exist in every unit of matter. The only difference in what makes the wind is that air is dominant and the other four states of matter are passive. When you see the fire as in the lamp, all five exist, but Teja of fire is dominant. When you smell these flowers, earth is dominant, others are not. So these five Panch Mahabhut are not individually floating around. They are collectively creating units of very, very subtle, unseeable matter that then coalesces together to form gross matter. Are you understanding? Wonderful. So this Panch Mahabhut is what is composing the fabric of our being. Our being is pure spirit. Our being utilizes this Panch Mahabhut to create a body and then to dwell in a world. Panch Mahabhut create a mountain. Panch Mahabhut create a river. Panch Mahabhut create some grain. And Panch Mahabhut is eaten. Panch Mahabhut is digested. Panch Mahabhut is excreted. The excretion becomes the soil becomes the tree becomes the plant becomes the apple, it's again eaten, digested, eliminated. So at a very physical level, at our body level, Panch Mahabhut, biochemistry, Panch Mahabhut, circulation, Panch Mahabhut, communication, Panch Mahabhut, dance is going on. And these Panch Mahabhut in a living thing do something amazing. The Panch Mahabhut not only create a physical structure, they are the very units with which a physical structure is created. For example, the tears in my eyes and your eyes is dominant in which Mahabhuta? Aap or water. The acid or the enzymes in my stomach are dominant in Teja or fire. The muscles and the bones, they are dominant in earth. The fluids in the body, all fluids are dominant in Aap or water. So they are doing their bit. They are literally the raw material. But it's interesting that while they lay around like heaps of raw material in the body to compose the body, they are also the very forces that create the body. Which means that in a living being, the Mahabhutas come together in unique combinations to form a intelligent force. An intelligent designed, purposive, flow of intelligence within the body. And this is called dosha. Dosha.
Could you say that word again?
I never know what I'm saying,
I
so
know.
it will be very hard to repeat. Maybe your friends may have it, sorry. But all I can say, I can tell you what I was meaning to say, which is that it is an intelligent force. Intelligent, why? It's not a random force. It is not like the wind that is blowing, and depending on where it is obstructed mechanically and where it is allowed to flow, its speed changes. No. The heart will have only a certain rhythm. The movement of the esophagus will be of a certain way. The movement of the colon will be in a certain timed cycle. The release of the digestive juices will happen in a synchronistic way. The flow of the nutrition to the cells and the building of the cells will happen in a very organized manner. This is reflecting the intelligence of the spirit. So if you ask me, I was contemplating, what is the dosha? Then dosha is nothing but the intelligence of our spirit, our true being, coming forward as an organized force. From the moment we are existing, as in within the womb, when the egg and the sperm come together and an embryo is formed and life descends into it after choosing the womb. It's a very big teaching. We teach it in our first year on how the womb is formed, how the soul finds its way, etc. What are the characteristics of that whole process? However, that moment of that life, when does life occur? Not when sperm and egg come together. We can try to connect them in the petri dish all we want. It is not until a incarnating spirit, a willing incarnating spirit, chooses to, due to matching of karma, come into that union. At that very moment, life begins, because the spirit is able to suddenly convert a mass of Panch Mahabhutas into doshas. Now this one single celled embryo has its own doshas, and these are three forces. One is the force that has promised, or that has the intelligence of the spirit to constantly metabolize and transform things. That is the Pitta dosha. There is another dosha that the spirit has with the Panchmahabhutas, which is of constant movement, organized movement, intelligent movement. After all, even when the cell divides, it's a kind of a movement. When there is a growth, when there is the womb moves around and attaches itself, there's a movement, right? Taking in of the mother's food and circulating it through the growing fetus, that is movement. So there is one force which is moving everything. And then there is a third dosha, the dosha that stabilizes everything, that makes things hold, that brings things together. For example, if there is a cluster of cells, they have to be held together, not randomly, splattered. So the movement has to be counteracted by static stability. Do you agree? And this movement and stability have in between them the transformation. These three doshas of movement is called Vata dosha, of transformation and metabolism and change is called Pitta dosha, and of stability and structure is called Kapha dosha. From that first moment of life till death, these doshas work ceaselessly and serve ceaselessly the task of activating the body, as in Vata dosha, maintaining the body, converting the food into energy, converting the food into energy, converting the food into tissues, converting the food into body needs. Pitta dosha. And serving the body as in taking the nutrition and creating a bulk of muscles, holding them in their place, surrounding it with gel-like substance to keep the joints moving. Just the sheer holding and staying power, kapha dosha. Without these three doshas, human body, human life, human existence is not possible. So the incarnate spirit, be it incarnate as a mosquito, an ant, a leopard, a tiger, a doggy, or us humans, we all have our three doshas. The word dosh is not a very positive word, let me tell you. Doshyanti iti dosha. One that gets disturbed quickly. One that is sensitive. One that is changeable and then disturbs everything else is called a dosha. Actually, we have to understand, the teachers are not teaching it in a negative or positive way. We are understanding doshas because in health, these doshas create imbalance, they create health. But because they are somewhat of changeable and sensitive and volatile nature, and they are constantly under the influence of the macro body with its macro mahabhutas, when they are not in balance, they create ill health, not only in the body but also in the mind. Vayu pittam kafascheti trayo dosha hi samasataha vignata deham gananti te vartayanti cha. Very simply the sages say that Vayu, Pittam and Kapha, these are the three doshas in short. When they are vikrit or disturbed, they will create ill health, even death. And when they are avikrit, when they are in good health, nothing can stop you for having good health. So these doshas in themselves are not good or bad. They are called doshas just to understand that we have three forces within us that are very sensitive. And they are influenced by everything. What we are thinking, what we are eating, and what is happening outside. And it is our responsibility to make sure what does their state of balance look like? How can I ensure that they are in balance? How can I recognize if they are in imbalance? How can I bring them back to balance? And once they are in balance, what kind of lifestyle, what kind of food, what kind of thoughts, what kind of value system, what kind of friends, and what kind of preparedness for difficult situation can I have so that my doshas do not cross the line of danger. Have you seen flood warning? We should know our flood warning. When enough is enough. When we know the Three Dosha Siddhanta, we no longer remain human beings who are at the mercy of something happening to us. Not only externally, but the problem is when what happened externally creates internal difficulties as in doshas. Do you understand? When the outer begins to aggravate vata, pitta or kapha. So the whole goal of education in Ayurveda, be it at a very preventative level, what is preventative health? Understanding a lot about the doshas and preventing them from going too haywire. What is the restorative aspect of it? If they have gone out of hand, with the help of a consultant, a doctor, or the help of education, we bring them back. We actually work for some time, few weeks, few months, to bring them back. We undergo some kind of purification, shodhana, to bring them back. And the third, which is not, taught much or worked at much, is the promotive aspect. In the promotive aspect, your doshas can be so well nurtured and so well, harmonized within you that they become actually the harbingers of great vitality, great immunity, great pleasure, and great joy. So the very doshas which are potentially, when unknown, I'll give you the example of some people who live in your house. Like you have some roommates and for some reason you didn't choose them. The universe chose 3 people will live in your house. If you didn't know them and you kept doing all sorts, you went about your business, those 3 roommates or people in the house are very volatile. Then it's all based on your luck, destiny, and who knows what, X factor, that when you come home, what you will find. The house all over the place, you are robbed, or there is refrigerator stuff everywhere, or worse, your refrigerator is stuffed with frozen food, and the toilet paper is not going, so lot of constipation. Who knows? Somebody tried to put a fire there, but the smoke has filled the living room, chimney is blocked. You don't know. What if you took the time to know? What if you underwent education that gives you knowledge? It is not just theoretical knowledge. At Vedika, we don't make you cram things and give exams, and you live it, you know it, you breathe it, you eat it. If you know them, then you can take preventative measures. Do you agree? At least now when you come home, you won't come across what happened. You won't be shocked. And if you know that there is someone who smokes all the time, at least you'll make sure the window's open. So there are various preventative strategies that can be done. But what if you knew the doshas really well, you developed good communication with them, you changed the bedroom allocation, you organized everything, then these 3 same people who are random strangers in your home can become your friends. They can become your alibis, right? They can become your advisors. And then somebody tried to break into your house and those 3 people said, hey, he or she is not home, but we are here. Won't let you in. Do you like that example? So these 3 doshas, when they are strong, they make the body like a fort or a fortress. And various difficulties cannot impregnate the system, cannot break the system. Because we have a concept of the host being strong or weak. When the doshas are in imbalance, every little thing imbalances the system. And as the doshas are in good state, everything improves and germs, bacteria, difficulty, even starvation for a long time, person can withhold. Mental trauma. Otherwise, little bit of problem, little bit of mental trauma, great suffering. And here, prolonged pressure, person is pleasant and smiling and productive. Do you see? So, knowledge. Now, one cannot always think that this journey will be so sequential. I will know them, I will balance them, and then I will strengthen myself completely. One can have for karmic reasons some difficult doshas. One can for professional and job reasons have a certain dosha which is in balance. For example, a person who's an air hostess, has to fly a lot, right? People who are cab drivers have to drive a lot. People who are teachers have to talk a lot. Mothers of young children have to constantly move a lot. Mothers of infants have to sacrifice many nights. People who work in chemical factories have to inhale a lot. So there is all sorts of external reasons, compulsory reasons, due to which our Vata, Pitta or Kapha doshas can get disturbed. So therefore we have to find strategies and solutions on a daily basis to balance them. So Ayurveda has done us a great favor. It has taught us the most amazing chapters on self-care. Just the most amazing chapters. Half of that knowledge is not out in the West. Very superficial knowledge has been given out. But most of the Ayurveda information begins with tremendous amounts of self-care. Body level, mind level, and soul level. And this self-care, when it is applied on a daily basis, can allow these forces to not build up in their escalation. Daily escalation, daily bringing back. Daily, so at least one can maintain status quo. Do you agree? And then when one gets a vacation or a rest or something good happens or prolonged period of self-care, even more improvement. So daily care, and daily care that is targeted to keep all three doshas in check. This is not random daily care. This is not just the kind of daily care where we say, look in the mirror and tell yourself I am lovely. That works. That works. That's a profound daily care. But, it will help the mind, and then the mind will help everything. There's no doubt about it. However, this is, matter. So daily care as in applying something to the body, and applying what, and that may be changing season by season. Based on your age it could change. Based on your digestion that could change. Based upon what are you eating. Based upon what are you drinking. Based upon how much and what are you exercising. As in what I'm sipping right now is kind of a care and a counteraction to the speaking. So it contains exactly those ingredients. If I don't drink this and I drink something random, I will speak, and in the speaking, do you know which dosha will go up? Vata dosha. So now a little bit about dosha. Tatra ruksho lagu shida khara sukshma jalonila. Vata dosh, its quality is dryness, ruksha, lightness, coldness, coarseness or roughness, subtleness, sukshma. It can get anywhere, right down to where the nerves are, nerve endings are, mind, thoughts, very sukshma. It is chala. It has a chala guna. It never rests. It never pauses. Even when we are asleep, Vata dosh is pulsating, throbbing, moving, sending sensations, circulating. It is chala. It is unstable also. Unstable means at a given time, in a given moment, we can calculate how much kapha we have in the body, the structural part. We can calculate how much pitta we have. We can have a measurement. But for Vata dosh we cannot. Because Vata dosh is so subtle that suddenly the wind blew and all of that has entered the being. and we ballooned. So Vata dosh, it is moving and subtle. We thought of a sad, angry, restless thought, and suddenly in the microsecond, Vata dosh has gone up. And then the teacher said, go in, be quiet. And we just went in, Vata dosh. Like that. So it is very unsteady. We cannot know moment to moment. We run, Vata dosh goes up. We sit down, it comes down. We speak, it is increasing, pulsating, throbbing, moving. We become quiet, it becomes quiet. We say Om, it comes down. We're exposed to cold, it will shoot up. We're exposed to warmth, it will come down. So Vata dosh is very, very unsteady. It is very non-sticky, very non-vishad, clear. It is so sukshma that nothing really can color it. Nothing can taint it. The only thing is that it will just remain amruta, invisible, all pervasive. That is Vata dosha. So if we here in Vedika, we contemplate just upon this. Tatra ruksha. Let us look at the rukshata. Do you think that in this heat and dryness in this weather right now, is there rukshata? Dryness in the big body of the universe? What do you think? Is the grass on the mountains juicy and green or dry? Dry. So how do you think it is inside you? Dry. So have you felt your palate get dry and your nose get dry? So you think you are eating a juicy plum, but the juicy plum is also living in the dry weather. Do you really think it has as much juice? It doesn't. When it is November, December, how is the grass on the hills in 680? Green and lush. No? It is so beautiful. And does anybody drive up 680 north and south? It's very green. So I drive up and down to drop my son, or I used to until last year. It was so beautiful in the morning with the sun coming. So my father had visited from India. So every morning I would force him. And he was, a long time meditator, pranayam person, and he has his own morning routine. No. You have to come with me in the car just to see the hills. So for many days he was coming with me, poor thing, sacrificing. Very nice. And see that. And look at that green. Very nice. And then I realized I think I was being a little bossy. So I said, you can carry on. You know how daughters are. Anyway, so green. That time, everything is juicy in the weather, outside in the weather. Right now, everything is dry. And that is why you will realize that your Vata dosha will be more sensitive. Now, has this been your own experience? That when you are exposed to cold, Vata dosha, what it does in the body is, it allows for the free flow of things. It allows for good respiration, inhaling, exhaling. It allows for good healthy thinking, enthusiasm. It allows for the free flow of joints, all movement. It allows for free flow of intellect. It allows for proper initiation of, say, speech or any activity. But when it is increased, breathing becomes, hyper. Mind becomes a little too speeded up. Intellect becomes too speeded up for its own proper grounded way of problem solving, thinking, etc. And there can be pain in the joints. So what happens is, when cold, because cold is a quality of Vata dosha, when cold increases outside, your Vata dosha can shoot up. Has anybody experienced sudden quickening of those neck pains, back pains, low back pains, shoulder pains, spine pain, just because you were cold? Anybody? Hands up, please. Tadastu. Everybody. In the same way, when you applied a hot water bottle, how many of you, hands up, felt good? Anybody? So in the same way, Vayu, Mr. Vayu, so quick to excite and also bring back. Apply heat, sudden relaxation. Because cold will create constrictions in the channels of the flow, Vat will increase and there will be sudden difficulty because Vat wants to just flow all the time. So when say Vayu is flowing from here to here, right, carrying all sorts of intelligence, ingredients, and it has this compulsive nature to flow. But I expose just this hand into a very cold, frigid air conditioner. Suddenly, because it's biology, is physics, everything will constrict. And as it constricts, what is obstructed from flowing? Tell me. Vata dosha. And a pressure will build up. And that pressure will create a lot of pain. So this is called build up due to obstruction. Similarly, if we are eating food and we are not digesting it, and food is deposited in undigested food called ama, is deposited along our arteries, vessels, all sorts of channels, again there is obstruction. Do you agree? That is one way of increasing is by obstruction. Another way will be if I am using it constantly. Repetitive motion, constant use, constant speech, then the activity that Vayu enables, in the same way when that activity is done too much, it will pull on Vata dosha a lot. And either which way, there will be a lot of force. And that force, which was nice and gently moving like a breeze, can become a tornado. And then when that Vata moves through us, thoughts become helter-skelter, super fast, speeded up. Speech becomes almost unrecognizable. Heart palpitations can increase. There can be cramps and twitches in the body. There can be, random movements of the joints. There can be dislocation in the body. There can be random pains to excruciating, pounding, piercing, sharpening pains, right? The cold cannot be just cold, but so cold that it is bone cold. It is deep, deep cold. And there can be a complete shutdown of the system. So what from the first moment we are born and we start sucking our mother's milk, we are expecting that milk will go from the mouth to the urine and anus and stool will be created. We just take it for granted. Who's taking it? Vata dosha. But that same Vata dosha, we have to bow to it, that it is so powerful that if it is over aggravated, it can create complete chaos in the system. Things can flow in the wrong direction, even this has been seen. Ingredients can start flowing in the wrong channels, just like sometimes an earthquake occurs, it's a movement, and one river joins another river. Mountains come crumbling and islands become mountains. Movement. And this movement is what can happen in extreme case. I just gave you a poetic understanding, but it is actually a understanding. There is something called Vimarga Gaman, where fluids move from one system to another because of Vata dosha. So I have not hypothesized anything. I have not created anything. I have just jumped from topic to topic to give you an overview. And here was our good Vata dosha. Our heart is beating nicely. Food is moving through the system. Nutrition is traveling everywhere. Thoughts are nice and friendly. How wonderful. So at Vedika, if you become students, we teach you very slowly, very methodically, very systematically. Of course in the 2 months, but really it really stretches out over the whole year. Because it deserves that kind of knowledge, that kind of restfulness to really look at this. This Vata dosha peaks naturally during summer due to the dryness. This Vata dosha naturally peaks when our stomach is empty. This Vata dosha naturally peaks in the 2 to 6 a.m. in the morning and 2 to 6 in the afternoon. So there is a lot of research into when Vata dosha peaks in the macro body, what effect will it have in the micro body, what should we eat to counteract it, what should be our activities, what are the herbs in nature that can help us, what are the diseases that it can cause us, what are the absolute no-nos, and better yet, what are the yes-yeses that we don't know about that we could implement in our daily basis. What are those foods that we can incorporate in our kitchen that have now been well accepted by the American and the international palate, and yet they come from the classical recipes that Sanjayji teaches us here at Vedika. So it's like, how can we have our day engineered to still look like our day? It can still kind of complement whatever our life goals are, our life purposes are, but at the same time, based upon how much of this Vata dosha is disturbed or imbalanced within our body, how can I take this general knowledge and then customize it to me, micro me, and then change that customization season to season is very important. And this knowledge comes, and if this knowledge comes, you have actually become a powerful healer. Because if you have begun to control the ropes of your own Vata dosha, you can now control the ropes of Vata dosha in the people you work with. But if you have only studied it, read it, said 12 reasons for that, 18 for this, then forget it. And your Vata dosha went up just before the exam, and you vomited some, and you were nervous, and you took a Tylenol, and then you went and gave your exam. God bless you. And what kind of healer will you be? Okay. So, I don't believe in that system. That is a ubiquitous system. Somehow we feel that we need to do that, but here at Vedika we said no. And we have managed to attract very, very sincere students, very, very sincere seekers we have never regretted not having external modes of learning. Everybody brings their deep, deep self to the well of knowledge and really benefits from it. And over a year, students have learned and seen, for example, we're just talking about Vata dosha, how it particularly affects them. And many students were filled with sense of like fear, like I have this condition, that condition. But the underlying cause was nothing but Vata dosha, so there was some freedom. Then they had also some helplessness as to this happens or that happens. They learned some solutions for it, simple solutions. And when they started employing it, they felt a sense of more power. And thirdly, when it started reflecting upon their personality, upon their behavior, upon their glow of their body and being, they had already become agents of change in their community. But without this knowledge and without internalizing this knowledge of Vata dosha, I can say to you that if you look at just this one dosha alone, that in America, Bay Area is afflicted with Vata related. Do you agree? When we are seeing this, people are feeling stressed, children are being labeled ADD, there is restless leg syndrome, and all sorts of new syndromes are beginning to afflict humanity. There is chronic fatigue syndrome, There is, fibromyalgia, which is another syndrome of muscular pain. There is, all sorts of nerve-related disorders where the nerves are not communicating with each other, or there is depletion in the system. Why? Because earth is being depleted at the cost of the building air. When Vayu and Akasha, or when ether and air Mahabhutas come together in the presence of Atman or soul and consciousness through the agency of the mind, this organized Mahabhuta becomes a force in the body which is called Vata Dosha. And this Vata Dosha keeps the body healthy and keeps the mind very agile, and yet in afflicted condition the body becomes uncontrollable mess of movement, and the mind becomes a house of nothing but fear, panic, nightmare, and anxiety. No matter how much counseling we do, how much chanting we do, how much we sit with our guru, and how much we do anything, the body and mind are so intrinsically interconnected according to Ayurveda that every disease is manodahic or mind and body based, and therefore unless and until the body has a solid foundation and the body's Vata dosha is in balance, many of our mind balancing efforts come to a fail, come to a non-successful juncture. Many psychologists, many counselors, some of them are students here, some of them are personal friends, some of them are just known to me through the profession, and also due to a personal interest in psychology where I myself, it's my main subject, and also I keep up with a lot of knowledge and schools of thought and what people are saying. I have found out that there is so much attempt at, for example, treatment of anxiety without any whatsoever consideration of the food that is being eaten, the exercise that is being done, the commute that is being undertaken, the multiple work that is being done, etc. Because it feels like, okay, here is this mind, here's a cluster of emotions, the emotional being can be counseled and sorted out. But if the person is eating very dry foods, again, cold foods, unstable foods, cracky foods, coarse foods, as in chips, then Vata dosh is constantly spewing through the digestive system and making its way to affect the mental being also. But if we were to bring this knowledge of Vata dosha even into mainstream understanding, and were giving warm cooked foods, warm foods, calm foods, kind foods, non-dry foods, oily foods, fresh foods, etc., which help balance Vata dosh. The food was being eaten in a calm atmosphere, quietly, maybe with some mantra spoken on it, meditative state. Or at least the cook did that. Person may eat it anyway. Then what will happen? That this kind of food will become a creator of qualities that would inhibit and prevent Vata doshas from going up, because Vata dosha's movement is arrested by Kapha dosha, which is oily, heavy, stable, etc., etc. And the warmth of Pitta. So it will calm down. It is a beautiful physics and understanding of the law of physics, which helps us understand the unique biology of the human being, which also gives us a clue into the psychology of the human being. This dosha, I'm giving you just an example of Vata dosha, helps us understand the entire personality and even constitution. We have a concept of Prakriti. At the time of birth, due to several factors, not just the constitution of the embryo and the sperm, We study about that in first year. There are many, many factors that come together, and when we are born, our Mahabhutas are in such a way organized that we are born with a certain ratio, as if we are a bucket of how much Vata dosha, how much Pitta dosha, how much Kapha dosha, and that is called Prakriti. And no matter how it fell, it is more often than not healthy. As I don't remember, I've been teaching non-stop in which class I said that, but everywhere you go, apart from exceptions, all babies, be they be human, doggy, cow, horsey, flowers, every baby is healthy. Do you agree? The thin baby is healthy, the medium baby is healthy, the fat baby is healthy, the poor person's baby is healthy, poor mother may hardly have food, baby is healthy. Do you agree? So somehow at birth, we are healthy. Within 10 days, if somebody can decipher, somebody a Vaidya, we can get the Prakriti or that unique constitution. After 10 days, we can never get Prakriti. Never. We only get Vikruti. What is Vikruti? Now influences have been adding. If mother is giving lot of spicy food, eating spicy, and through the breast milk adding spicy, fire element is being added to the baby. If mother is eating very soupy, rich foods, which is good actually, sweet foods at that time, earth and water element is being added. Mother is eating popcorn, marijuana, coffee, air and space element is being added. Do you understand? So now there is some changing of that original configuration. And that change, if it can somehow keep the ratio that way, it remains Prakriti, but more often than not it leads to Vikruti or a state of imbalance. What is our journey in Ayurveda? It is a return to home base. We can only guesstimate. Is that a word? We can only guess what our Prakriti can be. We can have a calculated guess. There are tools of understanding the Prakriti Darshan. We can make a pretty close understanding of what our Prakriti looks like, and we can try to be that. For example, I was a 10-pound round baby. And I was always laughing according to my father, never crying. And I loved eating. And I was such a clingy child to my mom. And I was very satisfied. They used to call me little Gautam Buddha. So I was very, calm and happy with what I had. Whereas my sister, she was petite, very pretty. I had all this, rounded features, everything round, big. And my sister was petite and very, crafted face, very beautiful. And she was very opinionated and she was very sharp. Like at 9 months, she was like talking. And I took my time talking, till 2 years, I was just happy smiling, mostly, So I was what dominant child? Kapha dominant. Actually, currently, due to certain overwork, etc., kapha is less in my body. So my understanding of that is, I have to eat rich, strengthening, nourishing food. I have to rest, etc. Are you understanding? So the more rounded and Buddha-like I become, the more healthy I become. So not for me the dreams of being super slim. That doesn't work for me. For me, to be well-rounded, well-fed is better for me. Not obese. What I am. Are you understanding? That kapha nature continues in me. Overall, I am a calm and relaxed person. Recently I scolded my students, they loved it. One of them said, "You should scold us more." I thought about it, but I thought it's not my prakriti. No, it's not my prakriti. The way I lead my students is through love, through unity. And I stand up by my commitments, I expect the same. So I lead through work and commitment. I don't lead through punishment and what is it? What are those other words? Punishment, taking to task, right? Those kind of things. That's not my style. I also felt good, but repeat performance is hard. Not my nature. Whereas my sister, she was dominant in fire. She was very intelligent. When we studied math, she always knew the answer. And I would get more interested in literature and concepts, so we have different. So you can have personality based upon that. It's a constitution. Our constitution doesn't give us ill health. It just gives us certain benefits, certain type of behavior. At the same time, it gives us certain tendencies. For example, being kapha, if I eat very cold food at night, very moist food like cheesecake, banana, etc. If I, wash my hair and just go out in the cold wind, I will develop a sniffle. Very quickly, phlegm will develop. If I am not a disciplined person, I can be a little on the side of being lazy. A little bit on the side of being a couch potato. That luxury is gone now. But I surely remember those days. That's kapha. Also, kapha people are happy people. I also get content easily. I don't mind that. But sometimes I notice that it was a dosh, excessive easy. So, knowing myself and then I fit myself to a profession here and what are its needs, and then I can moderate accordingly. Are you understanding? So in my staff members, I like people who have more fire. Are you understanding? Okay. So there's a constitution. The scope of the class is to make you open yourself to the idea of learning about these, learning your unique constitution, and that learning what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, learning how far you have traveled from what you are physically and psychologically. So it is one more mirror. There are so many ways of understanding our existing being according to Ayurveda. One is through the doshas, prakriti, vikruti. Then the Vedantic concept is also used, 3 bodies. Karana, Sukshma, Sthula, which I will not go into. Ayurveda has also incorporated the Panchasharira, the 5 levels of the being. That is also something we teach here. But the most functional and easy understanding is of the doshas. Without this knowledge of Vata dosh, for example, somebody is having pain in the wrist, and I see due to repetitive use, they don't change their way of, they using joints, or they may have pain in the knee. They'll continue running, though they will wear all sorts of things. And then instead of putting warm oil or warm poultices, what will they put? Cold ice. It may give some temporary numbing, but in the long run, the cold to the cold joint spells disaster, and everything becomes more dried, more cold, more rigid. So the lack of knowledge is creating a lot of errors and misses and hits in the management of the being. If somebody is having anxiety disorder, not necessarily talk therapy will help them versus meditation, quietness, and stillness and silence therapy. Do you agree? Shavasana may be a better asana than Surya Namaskar. Though Surya Namaskar is Three Dosha balancing, maybe that is not the right choice. But definitely things like very activated yogasana may or may not be as useful as sitting, anulom vilom, where you're doing alternate nostril breathing, calming everything in pranayam, shavasana, or even simple deep rhythmic breathing. When I have people who don't understand pranayam, I just say, breathe out till that tree and breathe in from that tree. That far cherry tree, breathe out till there and bring it back in. And I've had fun, like breathing out till the Himalayas, breathing in from the, in infinity you can do anything. So I've had fun, and it really relaxes everything. So even those things, slowing the system, warming the being, oiling the system. So in Ayurveda we even have body therapies where when Vata dosha is very high, what we will do is four people will stand and they will take a cloth and they will lie you down and they will have warm oil next to them, and each of them will rhythmically pour oil on you, rhythmically pour oil on you. And that rhythm is very important. And that warm oil, the whole being, there is a profound stillness and silence. And all the aches, pains, headaches, anxiety, hiccuping, cramping, constipation, dryness, somehow it all just goes away. We don't have to take special medication for this and different painkiller for that. When Vata dosha is calmed, all the disorders related to it, insomnia, anxiety, pain, vertigo, they all calm down. So then another understanding is that the diseases which may be the fruits, the root ultimately is the dosha. So as we go into the second, third, fourth, fifth year of this school, we also find out how the diseases, we have to look at the dosha. And dosha, of course, we also have to look at tissues, which again doshas are responsible. Mala or waste products, again dosha play a role. So dosha, it is all the way. People think, we took a 2-week class, we know everything. But people study, 8 years, 15 years, the same dosha. Just at more and more complexity. When I mean we know everything means dosha is so simple as a concept in the beginning. It's very easy for the common person to think, Ayurveda is very simple. What is that? I can also do it. They are all about hot massage. No. Even massage can be indicated, contraindicated. If your dosh is polluted with the toxins that you could not digest, oil massage is contraindicated. And if your doshas are high but not unpolluted, you can sit in an oil tub morning to evening, you will be fine. So it's like there is a lot of do's and don'ts, but they have to be taught systematically and with great clarity. I'll begin with asking a student just to give, Ripa, maybe we can ask you to talk about, in short, how the knowledge of, say, some dosh, Vat, Pitta, Kaph, has helped you in your life. Because you're about to end first year.
Yeah, I think it would never have struck me that talking too much would actually cause my health to deteriorate, and just being busy, being on the go, I think that definitely became a routine lifestyle, and knowing about the doshas really allowed me to contemplate my daily activities, my every word really. Is this necessary to speak? Is this necessary to do? Why am I doing this? It really made me ask a lot of questions, and that questioning, I think, led to unrooting a lot of deeper issues. So it's definitely a gateway to something really profound. So I'm really grateful to have these doors to go inward, and I think it really points back to what Shunyaji often talks about, that Ayurveda really is about self-realization. It starts at the physical level. There is a lot about food, especially at the beginning of this course, and how that relates to these doshas, but it ultimately is to go deeper and deeper inward, and I've definitely experienced that.
Yeah, that's true. I'm glad you brought up food, because in this school we teach on a regular basis about foods and cook them and make you eat them, and then you cook them for everyone, because food is a very big way, a large way. On a regular basis we are eating so much food. So we are inputting, doshas. For example, this is a pitta aggravating time now. So our students are embarking on 9 days of a pitta balancing diet protocol, where they will only eat from 12 recipes that are being taught to them. So these 12 recipes will create, the whole school will go through a pitta purification and blood purification beginning the 28th.
I was oiling my joints as we were taught to do, along with a morning shower, and that really helped my knees especially. I was able to start doing some folk dancing again, which I always loved to do, but which I had stopped doing, so I'm doing that again.
Thank you. Ambika?
I think recognizing and learning about Vat, and the fact that as we age, the Vat dosha increases naturally. And so I started treating myself a little more kindly using oil massage. Not feeling quite as compulsive about being so active, and acknowledging that downtime was a really important part of my rhythm, and just feeling a little more in touch with an organic nature of how things flow and change. It's things that were kind of reaffirmed, a lot of intuitions that I had, but having language to describe what was going on was very helpful. And I continue even tonight learning more in depth and making associations. So it's been wonderful. And I continue to learn.
Similarly, according to Ayurveda, when you eat a certain way in 4 months, October, November, December, January, in these 4 months, if you eat a certain scientific diet according to Ayurveda, the best kind of kapha builds in your body. And even the person who wants to lose weight needs healthy kapha, right? Just like you don't want LDL, you want HDL, right? So you want a certain healthy kapha, because kapha gives you oja, immunity, vitality, strength. So during these 4 months also here at Vedika, we eat certain very amazing foods and recipes, all from the classical texts. And if those 4 months you eat a certain kind of food, for the rest of the year you have energy. You don't need power bar and those drinks and those glucose and whatnot. So, and that food is so delicious, our older students keep waiting, when is October coming? So I just wanted to tell you that it's a lived curriculum and a lived knowledge, and when you've done that, it just translates into happier, healthier bodies, And so contemplate on this matra, this sense of quantity, because we who are seekers have to contemplate on everything, So would you like to share?
I would. I went through a 200-hour program to become a yoga teacher, and I remember when you were talking about, people, they'll have a week of information and think they know it all. We didn't even have a week. I think we had 2 pieces of paper, and from that piece of paper, supposedly, I was told which dosha and all that. And even back then, I thought, this can't be it. This seems like it's too big. And so I was, of course, super excited to come to this particular lecture to learn. But I do have a question. What does someone look like when all three doshas
Come together.
come together?
Yeah, that is called Samadosha Prakriti or Three Doshas Prakriti. That is a very rare and good way of coming together. That is an elite Prakriti. Why? Because each Prakriti has checks and balances. Even if it's very cold in the wind, the pitta part in you will give you warmth.
So,
If you have eaten very sticky food, the vat part of you will balance out with dryness. So usually the three dosha balanced person, born with three doshas in a good equilibrium, is the healthiest person, but it is rare. And only an expert can analyze that usually.